Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nivasisha Shunyavadi Vashtatar Satarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. 1 second, just got to get some water. Okay, let's share the Bhagavad Gita. There you have Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna, just like magic on your computer. Hare Krishna. So we're kicking off in text 49 today. 55 verses. I don't think we're finished today, but there's some of the quite lengthy purports, 2 or 3 lengthy purports. But let's see how we go. Hare Krishna. So, any readers out there?
Sorry, say that again, Prabhu.
Any readers out there like to read?
Yeah, I would like to read.
Yeah, the meter for the verse, if I can remember correctly, Matevayata macha vimoda bhavo trishva rupam ghoram idrin mamedam vyapati pi pritamana punastvam tameva me rupam idam papasya, something like that anyway. Go on, have a go.
Mate vyatama cha vimuddha bhavo drishtva rupam ghora idanmamidham vyapet brihi prita mana punastvam tad eva me rupam idam prapasya.
Very good. Hare Krishna.
You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was worried about killing Bhishma and Drona, his worshipful grandfather and master. But Krishna said that he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhishma and Drona were silent, and for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna just to show him that these people were already killed for their unlawful action. That scene was shown to Arjuna because devotees are always peaceful and they cannot perform such horrible actions. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. Now Arjuna wanted to see the 4-armed form, and Krishna showed him. A devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the 2-handed Krishna form so he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So the word for horrible is Gaudam. Yeah, Krishna calls his universal form a horrible feature of mine. Devastating time. Fearful feature. And he will eventually reveal his 2-armed form. But for now, he's revealing his 4-armed form to pacify Arjuna. And any particular curiosities or questions from this?
I was wondering why Dronacharya, at least Bhishmacharya, such a exalted personality, pure devotee of the Lord, sworn to Kshatriya, sworn to diligence, would keep quiet for something like seeing something like this.
Yeah, that's a whole, even today, it remains a live debate and discussion of why they actually did not act, especially Bhishma, especially grandfather Bhishma. It's quite complicated in regards, because, well, it's quite complicated. One reason put forward is that Yudhisthira being the leader of the Pandavas, then Bhishma, Arjuna, Nakula, and Sahadev, Bhima, excuse me. Oh yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, Bhima. Oh yeah, it's Bhishma, isn't it? Yeah, excuse me. I'm thinking,
Bhima is the brother. My question was about
yeah,
Bhishma.
Bhishma, yeah. Yeah, grandfather Bhishma. Sometimes it's described that he was, yeah, it's the same principle. What was dharmic in that particular situation was not very clear. Although from an objective point of view, it seems very clear that Bhishma should have become like fire, same as Bhima. It should have become like fire and stopped that outrageous act. But somehow or another, I guess we can always fall back on the easy one, the arrangement of Krishna. But do you have any insight into why Bhishma was bound to silence, was dumbfounded?
Was he so obligated to Duryodhan? Because
Yeah, go on.
yeah, because basically he vowed that he would look after the city no matter what. He would protect Hastinapur no matter what. And I think, if he said anything at that stage, something even worse might have even happened, or was he just looking after himself? Even I often think, how could he just stay quiet after what was happening? How could he not say nothing? But I'm just assuming there must be something in his heart.
I think you kind of touched on it, Mother. I think you kind of touched on it, that he was maintained by Drona, by the Kauravas. So he was kind of in their party. He was in their camp. So it's quite confusing for him. So so that's why he didn't, because if he had acted, he would have had to draw on arms against the very household that he was being sheltered by.
You could see he was totally disgusted, but just couldn't say anything. Just had to bear it. It's just...
Sometimes there's situations like that in life. It just sometimes things go down and things happen that just seem totally wrong, but we're kind of helpless to do anything about it. Might be in a personal situation. Sometimes it's like that.
Yeah. A very small point. I mean, I was coming back from the temple today, and the trains were so packed, it was so hot. And then you see these parents with little babies, and the babies screaming and but they are just like, you get to the point where, for God's sakes, lift her up or do something, because she, the babies are so hot, they're so, they're in so much distress. And you as the outsider thinking, oh my God, do something. You just want to say something, but you just, just stump. You can't, just anything. So it's a bit like that, really. I kind of related it to.
Yeah, that's a good example as well, because who are you to tell the parents how to be parents?
But
they might have some issues with that.
Everybody was looking at them that do something. The little baby was so uncomfortable. It was so hot. I don't even think she could breathe. Even she was screaming, bawling her eyes out. But they just seem so, like, it's very irritating. It's sad to see. It's horrible.
it's nice. Similar, you could perhaps use the similar, stupefied by what is the right thing to do.
Yes.
But what's quite obvious here is that because, okay, they might have had reason not to do anything, but the fact is, by not doing anything, that was their death sentence.
Yeah.
That's what's described here.
Wow.
That was they were liable. It said that's a dharmic principle, that if you see someone in distress and you're able to do something,
yes,
but you don't, or if you see someone in danger and you're in a position to save them, but you don't act, then you are liable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even in a court of law, you're liable for that. You could well be liable. It depends on the specifics of the situation. If you're in
You
a
keep
position,
silent, so your silence is just as bad as
then you're
a crime kind of thing.
Then you're complicit.
Mm.
You're complicit with the crime. Especially if someone's murdered and you're in a house and you don't make any move to protect or
Yes.
then
Yes.
you could be implicitly involved in the crime. So
Right.
that answers your question.
I mean, sometimes we find that in leadership as well. Sometimes inaction is also wrong. Like some leaders would deliberate on certain decisions and not make a decision, and not making a decision is also inaction, is also wrong.
Yeah, and it can cause problems later on. It can cause further problems later on. But it's interesting you mentioned the word action, because we're in Bhakti Sastri, we're just going through the 4th chapter. And we're on the verses where it speaks about action and inaction. You know, action which is inaction and inaction which is action. So in other words, action which is actually inaction is a devotee who's working on behalf of Krishna. So there's no reaction. So they're acting, but they're not becoming entangled because they're acting according to the direction of Krishna. But there again, you've got someone who is inactive, but actually that's, for instance, say renunciate or meditative yogi, then they may not be they may choose to be inactive, but they're still culpable because they're still unknowingly killing living entities when they drink water. So there's still karma, even if they're somewhat inactive. So, and the point of bringing that out, because what action to do and what action not to do is often not clear. And it wasn't for Arjuna. It was not clear for Arjuna. And it wasn't clear for Grandfather Bhishma. But he had to, you can say, take the rap. Of course, there's many interwoven stories as well. Grandfather Bhishma, he could leave the world when he wanted to. That's another aspect of the Leela and pastime. But anyway, it says quite specifically here that because they were silent for such negligence of duty, then they should be killed. So it's quite clear that their duty was to do something. But they were stupefied by Dharma, mystified by what to do or what not to do. Yeah. And the reason why I didn't quite finish that thread, the reason why Bhima, who was like fire coming out of his ears, sparks coming out of his eyes, is because Yudhisthira didn't give the go-ahead.
Yeah, that made sense.
Yeah.
Because all the 4 Pandavas said, having a step back made complete sense, because Yudhishthira Maharaj, they were waiting for the eldest brother to sort of give a go-ahead or react or show some sort of thing, and as a mark of respect. But Bhishma Dev is the crown prince, he's the the go-to authority as far as the kingdom is concerned. And if he had vowed to protect the kingdom, then it is still in his thing to protect Draupadi, because that is his kingdom.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Subject of his kingdom.
Another perspective of duty.
Yeah, a woman in his kingdom has been sort of, if his vow is towards the kingdom, a woman in his kingdom,
needs to protect.
Yeah, protect. So even then, in any case, again, Dronacharya, that's a different story altogether. But Bhishma Pitama has taken a vow to protect the kingdom and the residents of the kingdom.
Eric, another point is that also, if Bhishma had done something and forcibly stopped it by using force, he could well have killed all the Kauravas by the of Bhima. So that would have not been helpful to Krishna, because the battle of Kurukshetra needs to happen. So both sides need to be alive to gather millions of troops upon the surface of Kurukshetra, in order to establish Yudhisthira. So perhaps we can say, perhaps this is one of the things that, if things are not understood, we have to understand it's Krishna's plan.
Meant to happen.
It's Krishna's plan, although it seems quite unjust and not right from many perspectives. From Krishna's perspective, it wouldn't facilitate the battle of Kurukshetra if everyone were, because they could have just killed each other in that gambling arena, and that would be the end of it. But the Leela has to unfold. So the master of mystics, I might say that he's the one who stupefied Bhishma. He didn't
know Bhagavad Gita.
And also he stupefied Yudhisthira as well, who became blinded by the passion of gambling. It's called something called ritual samadhi. Anyone heard of this thing called ritual samadhi? Ritual samadhi is when someone's doing someone's so deep in meditation on doing a ritual, like a homa or sacrifice, then they're so absorbed in the ritual that someone could speak to them right in front of them, and all they can see is the lips moving, but they can't hear their words because they're so absorbed in the ritual. And I've had little experience of that, but sometimes devotees, when they're absorbed in a ritual and people speak to you, you can't hear what they say. Your mind is so absorbed in the ritual that it's called ritual samadhi, where you can be not aware of anything else but the prayers you're chanting and you have to do. So I would say, I'm stretching it a bit, but perhaps we could say Yudhisthira Maharaj was so absorbed in the passion and so lost in the gambling, that's why he gambled everything away. Anyway, it's a whole big subject. Perhaps we read on, but I'm sure devotees like this, some wonderful devotees, are very learned about the Mahabharata. There's one devotee called Govinda from Jalpadi, and he gives stories of the Mahabharata. I'm sure they could give very many wonderful explanations from the commentaries of the Mahabharata of why Bhishma, for example, didn't act. It would be interesting to read that. Perhaps I will, because it often comes up, as a question. But let's just fall back on that. It's Krishna's arrangement. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Should we move on a little bit? Yeah, so Krishna's going to retract the horrible feature, Gauram, and he wants Arjuna to be peaceful, to be free of all disturbances. nicer. It's like Krishna wants us to take shelter of him so we can be free from all disturbances and a peaceful mind. What's the word for peaceful here? Yeah. Gaura means horrible. Free of all fear. Vyapeta beer. Prita manaha. So prita means pleasing, isn't it? Sweet of. Prita manaha, pleased in mind. Yeah. All right. Eva devotee. Yeah. So let's read on. Text 50. Unless there's any other comments on what we were just speaking about, please feel free. Otherwise, we go on to 1150. We're getting closer to the two-arm form. Okay, someone like to read text 50?
Yeah, I read.
Okay,
go on.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Enjoy.
Sanjay Uvacha TR. Is that the right one?
Yep,
11:15. Sorry. Sanjay Uvacha iti Arjunam Vasudevas Tattoktva Swakam Rupam Darsayam Asabuya Asvasayam Asacha Bitamenam Bhutva Puna Somya Vapur Mahatma.
Somya Vapur means, yeah, go on.
Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayana. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-handed form, but since Arjuna asked to see this four-handed form, Krishna also showed him this form again, and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Somyavapu is very significant. Somyavapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form, and because Krishna is the director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita 538, it is stated, Premanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Shri Krishna.
Okay. So now, Somya. Somya Radhika is a name for Radharani. So Somya Vapu. Yep. Very beautiful form. This is the form which is even more confidential to appreciate than the four-arm form, as we know. Yeah. And qualification for seeing this two-arm form. I think this will be mentioned in the next verse or the closing verses. Let's just quickly look. Yeah. It's very difficult to behold. Yeah. Any insights or questions here? Sometimes it's mistakenly thought just because the one who has the most arms must be the best. So Vasudeva, so Narayan has four arms, so he must be, that makes him better than Krishna. Some people might think like that. But no, actually the original form, the Swayamrupa, the original form is the two-arm form. And then for upholding Dharma, then Krishna will manifest as Vasudeva, the four-arm form, or Narayan, or his expansions. But Krishna in his original form is just engaged in Leela, where he's Ragatmaka Bhaktas. Yeah. Sorry if you heard me say this before, but just like, and then when Krishna wants to engage in activity or out of duty bound for creation, then he expands himself, but he himself remains just engaged in rasa and lila. And the point I often mention is that if we could do that, we could stay at home and do what we really like to do, relaxing at home, and we could expand ourselves to actually go to work. Be quite amazing. Or expand ourselves just to deal with a difficult problem that we don't want to deal with, while we stay doing our chosen pleasurable activity. So that's Krishna. He chooses to remain, in his original two-arm form, but then for creation, etc., then he expands into various forms, which are non-different from him, but they serve different purposes. Yeah. And here, devotees know this verse. We've heard this verse so many times at the end, Brahma Samhita.
Yeah.
Anyone know the whole verse? I don't know it. I'm just wondering if anyone knows it, the whole verse. Anyone knows? For sure, you know?
Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hrideshu vilokayanti yam shyama sundaram achintya rupa swarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami.
Very beautiful. Yat Shama Sundaram. Do you know, can you paraphrase the whole translation? Or go for it?
I can't repeat exactly the same, but I know that a devotee whose eyes are ointed with a salve of love can see Krishna in his heart as Krishna is, and that's Govinda.
In the form of Shama Sundara.
Yeah, Sham Sundara.
In one place, Prabhupada translates this as almost eyes tinged with the salve of love. In one place, Prabhupada says, eyes tinged with the salve of devotional service. Yeah? So by service which is done with loving devotion, then Krishna feels obliged to reveal himself to his devotee. Yeah. And we discussed this quite a few times so far in Bhagavad Gita as well, that not everyone can see the same Krishna that Arjuna is seeing, because Arjuna is looking with eyes tinged with the salve of love. Duryodhana is not looking at Krishna with the eyes tinged with the salve of love, nor was Shishapal, nor was Kamsa. They were seeing Krishna, but not with their eyes tinged with the salve of love. Their eyes were tinged with the salve of fear, wasn't it? Kamsa was full of fear of Krishna. So he could see him, but he couldn't see the Krishna that the devotee sees. Yeah. Ointment of love. You can see the beautiful Lord Krishna. Okay. Somya Vapu. Beautiful form. Okay. Shri Ejon, 51. And now it goes back to your standard Anushtup meter here. This one. And sometimes when you've been chanting, sometimes it's difficult, is when you've been chanting 1 meter to quickly get into another meter, sometimes it's difficult. What I do, I go for a verse which I know quite easily from Bhagavad Gita just to get the meter again. Te samsatata yuktanam bhajatam pratibhuvakam tadami puriyogam tam yena mambhayanti te. Yeah. Drishtvedam manasamrupam tava samyam. Okay, I guess I'll read this one. Arjuna Vaja Drishtvedam Rupam Tava Samya Janadana. So Samya is used again, Samya. Tava Samya Janadana Idanim Ashmi Sambritaha Sachitaha prakritim gataha. Okay. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "O Janardhan, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, Shramyam, Stoyam, I am now composed in mind, and I'm restored to my original nature." Yes, so just picture the emotions that he's been in, Arjuna. Fearful, bewildered, what other emotions? Apologetic, frightened. Now just seeing this beautiful two-arm form. It's just like, it's a hot day today, just like taking a cool shower. Yeah. And now he's composed in mind and he's restored to his original nature. Purple. Here the words Manosamrupam clearly indicate that the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna as if he were an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form and again to show the four-handed Narayan form? So it is very clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary person only misguides the reader by claiming that it is the impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking, is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna has actually shown his universal form and his four-handed Vishnu form. So how can he be an ordinary human being? A pure devotee is not confused by misguided commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita, because he knows what is what. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. Okay? So Prabhupada again, he brings this up repeatedly. He had serious issues with Dr. Radha Krishna, claiming that it's not to Krishna who you should surrender. It's the inborn within Krishna. Yeah, Prabhupada really, he mentions it 3 or 4 times, at least in the Gita, and in other times in his lectures as well. Doing the greatest injustice. All right. Any questions here? Discussions? Clear in one sense. Yeah. Two-armed form is the original form. I guess it's easy to be bewildered if your first reading of Bhagavad Gita is not Bhagavad Gita as it is. Yeah. There's a good chance you're going to be quite confused about what the Gita is about or what is the conclusion. Yeah. And highly unlikely you're going to conclude to give your life to Krishna. Highly unlikely. Yeah. But Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita has made it very clear. And Prabhupada is not giving a, he's not putting something on the Gita which is not there. He's just giving it as it is. That's why it's called as it is. And Prabhupada says it's as clear as the sun. There's no need for wrangled Sanskrit, wrangled Sanskrit or wrangling with the Sanskrit to get different meanings. It's very clear. But that's what Buddhist commentators do. They will, they use the same Sanskrit words, but as you know, Sanskrit's got roots, the roots to the word, and so you can twist different meanings out of it, and lose the original. Especially now that can be done if something's not clear if a verse is not clear, then it needs to be discussed, then it needs to be dissected, it needs to be debated upon. What is the understanding of this specific verse if it's not clear? But if it's clear, there's no need. What's an example? There's an example. There's a pastime where Lord Chaitanya said this to one person. The Vedas is clear as the sun. Anyone could cite that Leela or pastime? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you got it. Yeah, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. It's a wonderful part of Chaitanya Charitamrita. How many days was he speaking to Lord Chaitanya? I don't know, a week? I don't know. I forget. How many days? Anyone know?
7.
7 days. Yeah. So now it wasn't, as far as I know, it wasn't all night and all morning. You know, they would get together, you know, in the daytime, and they would give class. He would teach. He would teach the darshans, you know, of Veda, etc. Then they would have their evening worship, their evening, you know, morning prayers. Anyway, it's 7 days, and Sarvabhauma becomes a bit curious because Lord Chaitanya hadn't indicated anything. He's just been sitting there listening, submissively in one sense, just sitting there listening, and he's become a bit. So Sarvabhauma at one point asked, "You have no questions? What is your opinion?" I mean, no, Lord Chaitanya says, a words to the effect, what you are saying is completely nonsense. The words of the Vedas are clear as the sun, and you've just put a big cloud over it. Yeah. I think this is where Prabhupada's getting this from here. This clear as the sun, it does not require lamplight from foolish commentators. So then it's a great catastrophe for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. His whole life's study has just been ridiculed, you know, because he's an elderly man. So he's got 50 years, 60 years of studying. And Lord Chaitanya's just trashed it. And Lord Chaitanya's just a young man. He's just 24 years old. And he corrects Sarvabhauma. Of course, as we know, Sarvabhauma has a wonderful revelation of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and he surrenders to him. Yeah. All right. Shri Ejon, another verse. Shuddhadasham, very difficult to see. Yeah, this is speaking about qualification now. Someone like to read this 52? Any takers out there? Going once?
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Shri Bhagwan Vacha Su Durdasham Idam Rupam Drishtvam Asiyan Mama Deva Api Asya Rupasya Nityam Darshana. What's that word? I don't know.
Kangsinaha.
Kanshinaha.
Kangsinaha.
Kanshinaha. Aspiring to see, okay. Translation. The Supreme Personality of God had said, "My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear." Purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. Now here the word Sudarshan is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see that has already been explained. Still beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him, and we have evidence in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna, and they offered nice praise to the Lord, although he was not at that time visible to them. They waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, thinking him an ordinary person, and may offer respects not only to him, but to the impersonal something within him. But these are all nonsensical postures. Krishna in his two-armed form is actually desired to be seen by demigods like Brahma and Shiva.
Yeah, just one point here. That actually it's interesting because you could describe it like here has been described, that the demigods, they're heard that the Supreme Lord is going to be appearing on planet Earth. Otherwise, they don't have access to Goloka Vrindavan. So Krishna's now manifesting on Earth, Boma. Otherwise, they don't have access. Yep. So here they're waiting. They're all queuing up. They heard that the Supreme Lord, their Lord and Master, in his original form, is going to be appearing on Boma. It's going to be appearing on Earth. So this is a chance for them to see. Otherwise, they don't have the right. You could say that they don't have the right mood to enter into Goloka and to see and reciprocate with Krishna as the residents of Goloka do. But now they've heard he's going to appear on Boma, Earth, so they're queuing up. All the demigods from heaven, they came offering prayers, but he was not visible. But they're waiting till he appears. They're queuing up. Yeah. And you can continue, Mother, unless there's any comments or questions.
Okay. In Bhagavad Gita 9:11, it is also confirmed. Avanti
Avijananti mam mutta manasim tanamastutam param bhavam jananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. That's right.
Thank you. He is not visible to the foolish person who deride him. Krishna's body is confirmed by Brahma Samhita and confirmed by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita. He is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternality. His body is never like a material body. But for some who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher, but he is an ordinary man, and even though he was so powerful, he had to accept a material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that that form is impersonal feature. He assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. This is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjuna, is more important than his personal form. According to them, the personal form of the Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person, but the transcendental process is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, to hear about Krishna from authorities. This is the actual Vedic process, and those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his Yogamaya potency. He is not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is now possible even for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna, and the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. The conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Sham Sundara.
Okay. Any questions or comments here? The universal form is difficult to see. More difficult is the form of Shama Sundara. Yeah. Yeah, amazing the different I mean, I haven't read, it might be interesting just to look at a few other bogus Bhagavad Gitas. I mean, I've got Shankaracharya's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, you know, but how they come to such conclusions that the universal form is the actual, how do I describe it? The universal form is more important, yeah? In one sense, from a material point of view, because it's bigger, it's grander, it's spectacular. So they wrongly conclude, therefore, the universal form is the one to see. Yeah. I don't know exactly how they conclude the Mayavadis impersonalists, but some schools that they accept Krishna as a manifestation of Sutta Sattva, or a manifestation of purified goodness as a temporary manifestation, but not an eternal form. I guess there's so many speculations out there. Even some speculate that that there was no battle. I think even Gandhi, he would read Bhagavad Gita, but for him it was just it didn't actually happen. Does anyone know the detail? I think he would just, Bhagavad Gita is just, for instance, Kurukshetra is just the body, and the Pandavas are the 5 life heirs. From our point of view, it's just a joke, you know.
Mahatma Gandhi used to read Bhagavad Gita every day.
Yeah.
For some reason, and it's amazing that he didn't catch the right spirit of it.
Yeah. Why? Because he didn't read it in parampara. He didn't have a guru. Prabhupada offered to be his guru. Prabhupada wrote to him, didn't he? He said, now you should give up politics, and I can teach you Bhagavad Gita, and we can teach together. Yeah. I mean, there's all types, as I'm sure you know better than me, there's all types of weird and wonderful misconceptions about Krishna, especially in India, you know. So that's why he wasn't blessed to hear from someone in parampara. Although no doubt he's got some level of piety, that's for sure. He's reading Bhagavad Gita. And he quoted, yeah, Hare Krishna.
But you mentioned Shankaracharya, that
Yeah.
he has got commentary. But that Sankaracharya wrote Jagannathastakam, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to sing every day. Now, how do we work that one out?
And also he wrote Gita Mahatmya, which is in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita.
Yes.
Exactly. And also he wrote that Vishnu Sahasranam, the 108 verses to glorify Krishna. Vishnu Sahasranam was
Really? He actually wrote that?
Shankaracharya.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I think there's a few Sahasras, there's a few. Well, we understand that he is a bhakta, isn't it? We understand he is Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Lord, and he was playing a thankless task of clouding, of bringing the Brahman, bringing people, Brahmins, back to faith in Veda. After, who was it? After Buddha. Yeah, he was Gnostic, so he took persons away from Veda. But Shankaracharya brought people back to Veda. But he gave it a clouded, impersonal interpretation. But we do have evidences of his being a bhakta. And one is that, as you're mentioning, the Jagannath Astakam, which is a beautiful, beautiful prayer, beautiful Astakam to Lord Jagannath. And we have Gita in the beginning, prayers the Gita. So in answer to that, I would say how to understand that. That's how we can understand it, that actually he is a devotee, he is a bhakta, so sometimes it came out when he was trying his best to keep it hidden. Shankaracharya,
Murli Prabhu, was
Yes.
Buddha an avatar of the Lord?
Yes, Shakti Avesh, as far as I understand. He's a jiva, but specially empowered with special Shakti.
But he's not an incarnation of the Lord, is he?
Sometimes he's described as an incarnation, but there's different types of incarnations. So as far as I understand, he is a Shakti Avesh. Yeah, a jiva that's specifically empowered.
So then him being an incarnation, how will he defy himself? So Buddha talks about nirvana, he talks about the Brahma Jyoti, he doesn't talk about the personal form of the Lord.
No.
Him being an incarnation himself, how will he defy his presence?
How would he define his presence?
Defy.
Oh, defy Krishna.
Yeah, because in Buddha, he is talking about nirvana. He doesn't talk about the personal form. He talks about the impersonal form. So he talks about the Brahma Jyoti and, getting him, submerged or in the Brahma Jyoti. So if that is what it is, and he is Krishna, he is defying the personal form of the Lord.
Yeah, that's the arrangement of Krishna.
So he himself says, I don't exist.
Yeah. That's why Krishna is the greatest. In one sense, Krishna, he bewildered there's a verse in Bhagavatam where it speaks about Lord Buddha, that he brought the persons who were decrying the Vedas and using them for materialistic purposes. He rejected. Yeah, what was it? Yeah, then they rejected Veda, but he introduced the atheists. He tricked the atheists to taking up sub-religious principles. To be peaceful, non-violence, to be righteous, to be conscious of your acts, etc. Stillness, sattva. So quite a lot of atheists are attracted to Buddha. That's Krishna's trick. They're atheists. So, okay, if you're not going to believe in God, at least, here's a non-theistic Siddhanta, which you can be attracted to, which is going to make you, if you follow it, it's going to make you peaceful. It's going to bring you to a sattvic. Your life's going to be sattvic. So that's Krishna's great transcendental trickery, to make the atheists religious by giving them sub-religious principles. Krishna's very intelligent, you know. But Lord Buddha, he must have been very powerful as well, very powerful, because, you know, these Brahmins at that time, they got families going back hundreds of years, which were learned in the Vedas and chanting the Vedas. It's the whole culture is Veda. Even from a young age, they're reciting Veda. It's the whole life and soul is Veda. They don't move. Then Lord Buddha, he's so potent, so powerful that he convinces them to actually turn against Veda, to like not have any faith in it and just follow ahimsa, just follow righteous acts and don't concern yourself about the Vedas. So that means without the Vedas, there's nothing. It was very powerful.
Which is why I find it quite this thing that he comes at one point, says, don't do that, do this. Then he comes another point and says, don't give up all that. And then last he says, don't do any of the, even, just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. That's it. So it seems like he has yardsticks. When he was Ramachandra, he had a different set of prescription. And then when he comes as Buddha, he has another set of prescription. And when he comes as Mahaprabhu, completely different set of prescription.
So Krishna is very, is very, very intelligent and very deep thinking. There's things which are taking place now, which are preparing the ground for 1,000 years from now. Yeah, there's things being moved in place for specific things to manifest in 500 years from now, in 400 years from now. Yeah, we could say the spreading of Krishna consciousness. Okay, we would like it to happen in 1 day or 1 week, but as far as provinces or countries being Krishna conscious, then Krishna's moving world events in such a way that it might, I'm just kind of philosophically speculating here, that these things will be manifest in 500, 600 years from now. Yeah, it's Krishna. So he's very intelligent in how to guide and to give mankind what they're qualified and what they can, to give what they're qualified, to give them a dharma which they're qualified, which will bring them a step up. Of course, throughout all this time, whether it's Lord Buddha or Shankaracharya or whatever, there was always pure, unadulterated devotees of the Lord who know Krishna and are engaged in deep Krishna smaran. Yeah. That they're always present, but sometimes it may become not prominent. Yeah, it's a great, Krishna. Don't worry, Krishna knows what he's doing. He's got it. Yeah, he's got it all worked out. All right, 6:59. Let's just pause here, and tomorrow we can pick up at 11:53. And we'll probably finish. Oh God, look at that purple. Let's see how we go. Okay. All right, let's pause there. And I think I'm going to look after this. I'm going to do a bit of searching and find any more reasons for why Bhishma was stupefied and didn't do anything. I'm just interested to find out. Perhaps I'll look on ChatGPT.
I heard something, and I don't know if there is any validity to it. Hence, I asked. They said the effect of prasadam as well, not prasadam, you're eating in somebody's house, and the food that has been offered, the grain and everything, consciousness is covered. So when you eat, the point was said that, you should be careful where you're eating your food, unless if it's not a prasadam, it's not offered to the Lord and such. So you could potentially get the consciousness of the. So in this sense, Bhishma Dev was eating the grain of Duryodhan in the house, and that had an effect on his consciousness.
Yeah, that's another reason given. He was stupefied by Kaurava grains. Described. He was stupefied by Kaurava grains. He was, he had his feet under the table of the house of Duryodhan. So there's some.
best be careful where we are eating, what we are eating from, because that has an impact on our mind.
For sure, especially ourselves not being so strong as Grandfather Bhishma. Yeah. Okay, let's pause there then and let's pick up.
Prabhu, there might be another reason, and I would love to know what that reason is.
Yeah, I have a little look. It's interesting. Okay. Hare Krishna. Please join us tomorrow and we'll continue with text 54. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada ki jai. Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Krishna Pavane Vaishnave
Namo Namo.